Great news, everybody. In 2012, the world did not come to an end. In fact, some really good metal albums were released. A lot of big things happened in 2012. The London Olympics, the Curiosity rover landed on Mars, Felix Baumgartner jumped from space. At 102 years old, unfortunately, the Pinta Island tortoise Lonesome George passed away, effectively making his species go extinct. There were a lot of conflicts in the world, and also natural disasters like Hurricane Sandy. And we had to say goodbye to Neil Armstrong. But before we forget, some really good metal albums were created. Here are my top 5 for 2012. At number 5, we've got the 4th album of one of the biggest side projects of the 21st century. We've got Stone Sour with House of Golden Bones, Part 1. Now, there's a lot of very talented musicians playing in Stone Sour, including at this time Jim Root, who was also a guitar player for Slipknot. But let's be honest, people are going to remember Stone Sour as that other band Corey Taylor is in. So as the name suggests, the House of Golden Bones Part 1 is obviously part of a broader concept, which is the Part 2 album. Also a good, solid album, but I think many people will agree with me if I say that Part 1 is really the better one of the two. Absolute Zero is definitely one of the highlights. Another big hit from the album was Tired, but if I have to pick my favorite track of this album, it is going to be the energetic opener, Gone Sovereign.
So scatter all my ashes when I'm dead. Shatter every legend in my head.
At number 4, we've got the second album of a band that became really big in the past decade. Their first album didn't leave that big of a mark on the metal world, but this album definitely launched this band's career like nothing else. I'm talking about The Strange Case of by Halestorm. So Halestorm being a sleaze rock metal band around the duo brother and sister RJ and Lizzie Hale. This album really elevated the band and showed that this band had a lot of hit potential and mainstream potential. The album kicks off very strong with Love Bites and So Do I. There's just a bunch of fun songs in this record, and particularly the first half of the record. The entire record is pretty solid, but if you think about what were the hits of this album, you're definitely going to find them on the first half. A big song of this album for the band was also Freak Like Me. But if we have to think about what was the #1 song of this album that, really launched this band internationally, I would say it is I Miss the Misery.
I miss the misery.
At the number 3 spot, we have another band that is formed around siblings. In fact, this would be the 5th album of a band that arguably is one of the bands of the decade, Gojira with L'Enfant Sauvage. So Gojira brings this fantastic progressive death metal mix that is heavy, that has hooks in it, that just sticks with you. If you were to list bands that really defined the decade, Gojira is gonna be up there. So Mario and Joe Duplantier, who are the brothers who really formed the axis in this band, are phenomenal. But the entire band can only really be described as a tight unit. It's a 4-piece that creates a wall of sound that sometimes you think 40 musicians are involved. Born in Winter and the Axe stand out, but without a doubt, my favorite track of the album is the title track, L'Enfant Sauvage. So on the number 2 spot, we have a very strong album, and it's very interesting because this is album 13 of the band. I'm talking about Phantom Antichrist by Kreator. So Kreator is one of the big 4 of the Teutonic thrash scene. The other bands in the big 4 are Tankard, Sodom, and Destruction. All great bands. but Kreator is on this whole different level. And Phantom Antichrist is just phenomenal. When you think about songs like From Flood to Fire, there's obviously the title track. Kreator often evoke this idea of how civilization collapses through a lot of different areas. So that song, Civilization Collapses, also a standout track.
Let there be darkness. Let there be blood tonight.
But the song that really stands out on this record, it's just one of those songs that at a live show, you just, you sing along every word, and that is Victory Will Come.
Let's set the world on fire. Victory will come. Victory will come.
There was this other album that I just had so much fun with. It was a great album. Again, this is the album that really propelled the band from being a leader in their specific genre to breaking into the metal mainstream or the metal elite. It is also a concept album, and this is Carolus Rex by Sabaton. So this is a very important album for Sabaton. The story that the album tells you is about the rise and fall of the Swedish Empire in the late 17th, early 18th century. As the title suggests, a big part of the album zooms into the life of Carolus Rex, or Charles XII of Sweden. Sabaton, obviously, a power metal band that always plays songs about famous battles. But this was an important album because also it was the last album created with the original lineup. I saw them tour this album several times. This is really when a broader audience embraced Sabaton. And the cool thing about this album is that it's also a quite varied album. So you've got those, sing-along power metal anthems like Gott mit uns. But at the same time, you would also have more emotional, a little bit more slower tempo tracks, like, for example, A Lifetime of War. A lot of people will call the title track their favorite track of the album. For me, the track that really stands out, ironically, this is not a track that is about Charles XII or Carolus Rex, but about an earlier Swedish monarch called Gustavus Adolphus, whose nickname is also the name of the song. I'm talking about the Lion of the North. So those were my top 5 picks for 2012. I'd love to hear from you what you thought were the best albums of 2012. Feel free to leave a comment with some suggestions and I'll definitely take a look at those. But in the meantime, sit tight and we'll see each other soon to talk about 2013. See you soon. Thank you for watching. If you liked that video, feel free to click right here to see more videos like it and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.